Hi everyone, and welcome back to our Jane Eyre read-along. Sorry for the technical difficulties yesterday, but hopefully it's all sorted out today and we can start off with chapter 19. So in chapter 19, which is also one of my favorite scenes, Jane meets with a fortune teller who has previously met with all the visitors at Mr. Rochester's Thornfield Hall, just the females though. So the fortune teller insists on seeing the last single lady in the den or the parlor, and Jane decides that she'll go and that she's not afraid, even though the more well-to-do ladies were afraid of going on their own. So let's see what happens in chapter 19, and thanks for joining me. The library looked tranquil enough as I entered it, and the Sibyl, if Sibyl she were, was seated snugly enough in an easy chair at the chimney corner. She had on a red cloak and a black bonnet, or, rather, a broad-brimmed gypsy hat tied down with a striped handkerchief under her chin. An extinguished candle stood on the table. She was bending over the fire and seemed to be reading in a little black book, like a prayer book, by the light of the blaze. She muttered the words to herself, as most old women do, while she read. She did not desist immediately on my entrance. It appeared that she wanted to finish a paragraph. I stood on the rug and warmed my hands, which were rather cold with sitting at a distance from the drawing-room fire. I felt now as composed as I ever did in my life. There was nothing indeed in the gypsy's appearance to trouble one's calm. She shut her book and slowly looked up. Her hat brim partially shaded her face, yet I could see, as she raised it, that it was a strange one. It looked all brown and black. Elf locks bristled out from beneath a white band, which passed under her chin and came half over her cheeks, or rather jaws. Her eye confronted me at once with a bold and direct gaze. "Well, and you want your fortune told?" she said, in a voice as decided as her glance, as harsh as her features. "I don't care about it, mother. You may please yourself, but I ought to warn you, I have no faith." "It's like your impudence to say so. I expected it of you. I heard it in your step as you crossed the threshold." "Did you? You have a quick ear." "I have, and a quick eye, and a quick brain." "You need them all in your trade." "I do, especially when I've customers like you to deal with. Why don't you tremble?" "I'm not cold." "Why don't you turn pale?" "I'm not sick." "Why don't you consult my art?" "I'm not silly." The old crone nickered a laugh under her bonnet and bandage. She then drew out a short black pipe and, lighting it, began to smoke. Having indulged a while in this sedative, she raised her bent body, took the pipe from her lips, and while gazing steadily at my face, she said very deliberately, "You are cold, you are sick, and you are silly." "Prove it," I rejoined. "I will, in a few words. You are cold because you are alone. No contact strikes the fire from you that is in you. You are sick because the best of feelings, the highest and the sweetest given to man, keeps far away from you. You are silly because, suffer as you may, you will not beckon it to approach, nor will you stir one step to meet it where it waits you." She again put her short black pipe to her lips and renewed her smoking with vigor. "You might say that to almost anyone you ever knew who was a solitary dependent in a great house." "I may say it to almost anyone, but would it be true of almost anyone?" "In my circumstances." "Yes, just so, in your circumstances. But find me another precisely placed as you are." "It would be easy to find you thousands." "You could scarcely find me one. If you knew it, you are peculiarly situated. Very near happiness, yes, within reach of it. The materials are all prepared. There only wants a movement to combine them. Chance laid them somewhat apart. Let them be once approached, and bliss results." "I don't understand enigmas. I never could guess a riddle in my life." "If you wish me to speak more plainly, show me your palm." "And I must cross it with silver, I suppose." "To be sure." I gave her a shilling. She put it into an old stocking foot, which she took out of her pocket, and having tied it round and returned it, she told me to hold out my hand. I did. She approached her face to the palm and pored over it without touching it. "It is too fine," said she. "I can make nothing of such a hand as that, almost without lines. Besides, what's in a palm? Destiny is not written there." "I believe you," said I. "No," she continued, "it is on the face, on the forehead, about the eyes, and the eyes themselves, and the lines of the mouth. Kneel, and lift up your head." "Ah, now you are coming to reality," I said, as I obeyed her. "I shall begin to put some faith in you, presently." I knelt within a half-yard of her. She stirred the fire, so that a ripple of light broke from the disturbed coal. The glare, however, as she sat, only threw her face into deeper shadow. Mine it illuminated. "I wonder with what feelings you came to me tonight," she said, when she had examined me a while. "I wonder what thoughts are busy in your heart during all the hours you sit in yonder room with the fine people flitting before you like shapes in a magic lantern. Just little sympathetic communion passing between you and them, as if they were truly mere shadows of human forms, and not actual substance. I feel tired often, sleepy sometimes, but seldom sad." "Then you have some secret hope to buoy you up and please you with whispers of the future?" "Not I. The utmost I hope is to save money enough out of my earnings to set up a school some day in a little house rented by myself." "A mean nutriment for the spirit to exist on, and sitting in that window-seat, you see, I know your habits." "You have learned them from the servants." "Ah, you think yourself sharp. Well, perhaps I have. To speak the truth, I have an acquaintance with one of them, Mrs. Poole." I started to my feet when I heard the name. "You have you?" thought I. "There is diablerie in the business after all." "Don't be alarmed," continued the strange being. "She's a safe and quiet hand, is Miss Poole. Close and quiet. Anyone may repose confidence in her. But, as I was saying, sitting in that window-seat, do you think of nothing but your future school? Have you no present interest in any of the company who occupy the sofas and chairs before you? Is there not one face you study, one figure whose movements you follow with at least curiosity?" "I like to observe all the faces and all the figures." "But do you never single one from the rest? Or may it be two?" "I do frequently, when the gestures or looks of a pair seem telling a tale. It amuses me to watch them." "What tale do you like best to hear?" "Oh, I have not much choice. They generally run on the same theme, courtship, and promise to end in the same catastrophe, marriage." "And do you not like that monotonous theme?" "Positively, I don't care about it. It is nothing to me." "Nothing to you? When a lady, young and full of life and health, charming with beauty and endowed with the gifts of rank and fortune, sits and smiles in the eyes of a gentleman you—" "I what?" "You know, and perhaps think well of?" "I don't know the gentlemen here. I have scarcely interchanged a syllable with one of them. And as to thinking well of them, I consider some respectable and stately and middle-aged, and others young, dashing, handsome, and lively. But certainly they are all at liberty to be the recipients of whose smiles they please, without my feeling disposed to consider the transaction of any moment to me." "You don't know the gentlemen here? You have not exchanged a syllable with one of them? Will you say that of the master of the house?" "He's not at home." "A profound remark, a most ingenious quibble. He went to Millcote this morning, and will be back here tonight or tomorrow. Does that circumstance exclude him from the list of your acquaintance, blot him, as it were, out of existence?" "No, but I can scarcely see what Mr. Rochester has to do with the theme you had introduced." "I was talking of ladies smiling in the eyes of gentlemen, and of late so many smiles have been shed into Mr. Rochester's eyes that they overflow like 2 cups filled above the brim. Have you never remarked that?" "Mr. Rochester has a right to enjoy the society of his guests." "No question about his right, but have you never observed that, of all the tales told here about matrimony, Mr. Rochester has been favored with the most lively and the most continuous?" The eagerness of a listener quickens the tongue of a narrator. I said this rather to myself than to the gypsy, whose strange talk, voice, manner, had by this time wrapped me in a kind of dream. One unexpected sentence came from her lips after another, till I got involved in a web of mystification, and wondered what unseen spirit had been sitting for weeks by my heart, watching its workings and taking record of every pulse. "Eagerness of a listener," repeated she. "Yes, Mr. Rochester has sat by the hour, his ear inclined to the fascinating lips that took such delight in their task of communicating. And Mr. Rochester was so willing to receive, and looked so grateful for the pastime given him. Have you noticed this?" "Grateful? I cannot remember detecting gratitude in his face." "Detecting! You have analyzed, then. And what did you detect, if not gratitude?" I said nothing. "You have seen love, have you not? And, looking forward, you have seen him married, and beheld him and his bride happy?" "Not exactly. Your witch's skill is rather at a fault sometimes." "What the devil have you seen, then?" "Never mind. I came here to inquire, not to confess. Is it known that Mr. Rochester is to be married?" "Yes, and to the beautiful Miss Ingram." "Shortly?" "Appearances would warrant that conclusion. And no doubt, though, with an audacity that wants chastising out of you, you seem to question it. They will be a superlatively happy pair. He must love such a handsome, noble, witty, accomplished lady, and probably she loves him, or, if not his person, at least his purse. I know she considers the Rochester estate eligible to the last degree, though, God pardon me, I told her something on that point about an hour ago, which made her look wondrous grave. The corners of her mouth fell half an inch. I would advise her suitor to look out. If another comes, with a longer or clearer rent-roll, he's dished. But, mother, I did not come to hear Mr. Rochester's fortune. I've come to hear my own, and you have told me nothing of it." So, that takes us halfway through chapter 19. The fortune teller is very mysterious, but we learn more about the fortune teller's identity tomorrow in the second half of chapter 19. I hope you'll join me, because if you haven't read Jane Eyre before, you have no idea who the fortune teller is, and it's pretty amazing. So thanks so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow at noon. Until then, stay safe.